from Beijing, and welcome to this special edition of 2021 InnoBay, a special forum jointly hosted by CGTN and Hong Kong Next Foundation, a charity fund under Sequoia Capital China. I'm Kate Kui from CGTN. Innovation and technology are crucial drivers for economic growth. Hong Kong, as a special administrative region of China and connected with the Greater Bay Area and the rest of the world, has a solid science and technology foundation and a large pool of talents. Innovation and technology is also high on Hong Kong SAR government's agenda. In 2015, the Innovation and Technology Bureau was established in Hong Kong to formulate holistic INT policies. In 2017, the Chief Executive of Hong Kong further set out 8 major areas to boost government efforts to develop the INT industry. The Chief Executive also chairs a high-level steering committee to coordinate the government's efforts to promote this drive. With its unique geographic location, diverse cultural mix, exceptional talent base, established financial markets, efficiency and openness, Hong Kong is often seen as one of the most ideal destinations to start a business. With the Greater Bay Area initiative as a first step, Hong Kong stands to achieve even more recognition as an international center for technological innovation. In today's special program 2021 InnoBay, we will hold discussions with policymakers, entrepreneurs, and scientists to find out their view on innovation and technology in Hong Kong and the Greater Bay Area. They will also talk about the steps needed to further leverage the advantages to make the initiative a success. During the discussion, we'll also unveil the 2021 InnoBay Unicorn List. Due to the pandemic, we will have to move the forum from offline to online this time while using technology to keep us connected. We are starting off the forum with an address by Leung Chun-ying, Vice Chairman of the National Committee of the CPPCC.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very pleased to join you at this Hong Kong X Foundation Forum. For many years now, we talk about the development of innovation and technology in terms of mastering the collaboration of government, industries, academia, and research within Hong Kong. Equally, for many years, we've been talking about the cross-boundary collaboration between the cities in the Greater Bay Area. Now, to think big, do big, imagine big, and dream big, we must dream, imagine, think, and do collaborations between governments, industries, academia, and research across the Shen River. This is the only way and the best way to harness the big potential of the Greater Bay Area and to forge, so to speak, new alloys out of the metals there are in the 11 Greater Bay Area cities. The opening of the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology Guangzhou campus in Nansha next September and other Hong Kong universities later on will herald in completely new opportunities. For the first time, world-renowned Hong Kong universities will meet with world-renowned production capabilities in Guangdong Province, and they will be on the same side of the Shen River. This new development means big. It means a great deal more than Hong Kong uplifting the level of university education and research in Guangdong Province. It will enable us to examine and realize Guangdong-Hong Kong collaboration in the innovation and technology sector in specific terms. It is a game changer. I'm very excited and hopeful. Thank you very much.
Former Hong Kong SAR Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying has been an ardent advocate of technology development and innovation. His successor, Carrie Lam, has continued his strategy and outlined in her most recent 2021 policy address that Hong Kong would be developed as a center for international innovation and as a technology hub. We're honored to have Carrie Lam, Chief Executive of Hong Kong SAR Government, to give her opening remarks.
Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to speak at the opening of the InnoBay 2021 program, co-organized by China Global Television Network and Hong Kong X Foundation. I like very much the name of this program. InnoBay succinctly captures the ambition of developing an international innovation and technology hub in the Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macao Greater Bay Area, and echoes the point that innovation and reform is one of the basic principles in driving the Greater Bay Area, as enshrined in the outline development plan for the Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macao Greater Bay Area, promulgated in February 2019. As a special administrative region of the People's Republic of China, Hong Kong is one of the core cities in the 9+2 Greater Bay Area, comprising 9 cities in the Guangdong Province, as well as the 2 special administrative regions of Hong Kong and Macao. Leveraging unique advantages under one country, 2 systems, and high-quality research in our universities, with 5 of them amongst the world's top 100, and our excellent technology infrastructure, which was recently ranked the world's number 2 by the IMD World Digital Competitiveness Index, as well as being the world's number 2 platform for the listing of biotech companies. Hong Kong is well positioned to make significant contribution to the Greater Bay Area's I&T goal. To enhance our global competitiveness, my government has made unprecedented efforts in I&T development in Hong Kong. Over the past 4 years, we have invested nearly $17 billion in technology infrastructure and research and development, as well as in nurturing talents. It is gratifying to see that the I&T ecosystem in Hong Kong has become increasingly vibrant, with Hong Kong being the birthplace of 12 unicorns already. Indeed, we can count 18 unicorns with strong links to Hong Kong, according to the Hong Kong X Foundation. That determination for Hong Kong to succeed and significant efforts made in recent years have not gone unnoticed by the central government. Memoranda of cooperation have been entered into with the Ministry of Science and Technology and the Chinese Academy of Sciences. Hong Kong research projects have received national funding, and joint research laboratories have been set up in the Hong Kong Science Park, on top of the 16 state key laboratories in Hong Kong. All these have culminated in express support for Hong Kong to develop into an international innovation and technology hub in the nation's 14th five-year plan, promulgated in March this year, which also includes the Shenzhen-Hong Kong Loop as one of the 4 major platforms of cooperation in the Greater Bay Area. I am grateful for the nation's support, and together with our local I&T sector, we are determined to play to our strengths. Therefore, in my 2021 policy address delivered on the 6th of October, I outlined enhanced measures to enrich Hong Kong's I&T ecosystem, including supporting our universities to build more laboratory facilities, recruiting more research talents, giving more impetus to re-industrialization, and collaborating more closely with Shenzhen. In particular, we plan to develop an InnoLife Health Tech Hub in the Hong Kong-Shenzhen I&T Park, as the COVID-19 pandemic has reminded us of the importance of life sciences to humankind. We are confident that this is an area Hong Kong could play a pivotal role in the Greater Bay Area and beyond. I'm sure you will hear more about our plans from speakers participating in this program. Let me end by thanking Hong Kong X Foundation and the CGTN for putting together this meaningful event. Thank you.
As a global television network, CGTN has been following Hong Kong SAR's development, including initiatives on innovation and technology. Leveraging CGTN's global distribution network and huge audience base, more stories can be told and voices heard to promote this great initiative. Shen Haixiong, the Vice Minister of the Publicity Department of CPC Central Committee and the head of China Media Group, will share his insights with us. Vice Minister Shen worked in Guangdong Province before and knows the area well.
尊敬的梁振英先生、林郑月娥女士、各位嘉宾、各位朋友，大家好。我谨代表中国中央广播电视总台，在北京向参与创新港湾特别节目的嘉宾表示热烈欢迎。粤港澳大湾区建设是习近平主席亲自谋划、亲自部署、亲自推动的重大国家战略。这是新时代推动形成全面开放新格局的重要探索，也是丰富"一国两制"内涵的崭新实践。4年多来， 粤港澳大湾区不但深化制度创新、科技创新、人才创新，以不到全国0.6%的面积，创造了全国12%的 GDP， 超过一个中等国家经济体，足可以列入全球10强。今年9月，世界知识产权组织发布的2021年全球创新指数报告，中国的深圳、香港、广州作为一个都市区单元，名列全球最佳科技集群第2位。一个是令世界瞩目的国际一流湾区和世界级城市群正在成长。我曾经在广东工作过，对大湾区怀有深厚的感情。我们关注到，香港特区政府在前不久发表的2021年施政报告中，提出建立更完整的创科生态圈，与深圳以及粤港澳大湾区的创科发展相辅相成。这对于千万创业者而言，无疑是振奋人心的消息。习近平主席指出，变革创新是推动人类社会向前发展的根本动力。在当今世界新冠肺炎疫情全球蔓延、经济复苏乏力、气候变化不利影响等一系列严峻挑战背景下，智慧医疗、碳中和、人工智能等科技创新议题越来越受到全球的广泛关注。科技创新已经成为解决全球性问题紧迫而有效的途径。中国中央广播电视总台作为国际主流媒体和中国国家广播电视台，牢牢把握创新这一总台发展的主基调、主旋律，坚持做创新发展的践行者、传播者、引领者。我们积极构建5G 加 4K、8K 加 AI 的战略格局，在深圳设立总台粤港澳大湾区中心。今年以来，成功实现全球首次通过8K 电视频道进行重大活动的直播，实现历史首次对奥运会进行全 4K 信号制作直播。11月25号，全球首个24小时上讯播出的4K 加高清同播的专业体育频道中央广播电视总台央视奥林匹克频道及其数字平台开播上线。习近平主席发来贺信，令我们备受鼓舞。我们将创新应用 8K 技术、5G 通信、人工智能等最新的前沿技术，奋力实现科技冬奥 8K 看奥运的目标，为全球观众奉献一场精彩成功的奥运盛宴。当前，内地和港澳各界都在广泛学习中共19届六中全会精神。借全会的东风，我们希望与大湾区各方紧密合作，助力构建科技创新生态体系。中央广播电视总台 CGTN 等平台将充分发挥连接中外、沟通世界的全球传播优势，推进大湾区创新发展，用创新点燃梦想，用科技成就未来，让科技创新更好地造福人类。谢谢大家。
Now we come to the most exciting moment. From 2014 to 2020, the startups number in Hong Kong increased from 11,000 to 33,000 with 200% growth. All these companies have Hong Kong gene, meaning they're either headquartered in Hong Kong or its founders are from Hong Kong. Among the companies in the list, 9 have chosen Hong Kong as their global headquarters, while 90% have obtained US dollar investments from international investors. Sequoia Capital has made investments in 12 companies among the 18 on the list, and one of them, Sense Time, has already submitted plans to list its shares on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. 3 companies on the list have achieved a valuation more than $10 billion as of last round financing, including Dajiang, Sense Time, and Lala Move. Next, we will have Shen, founder and managing partner of Sequoia Capital China and a member of the 13th National Committee of the CPPCC, addressing us. Neil Shen, founder and managing partner of Sequoia Capital China, a world-renowned investor and the brain behind this special forum, has been at the forefront of innovation and technology development in the Greater Bay Area. Hong Kong X-Tech is a platform set up in recent years to support early-stage and angel projects, in addition to Sequoia's multi-stage funding for enterprises needed.
大家好，很高兴红杉中国作为联合策划方和 CGTN 一起推出这个特别节目，让更多人可以了解香港和大湾区科创发展的特点和机遇，也分享我对香港近几年来创科生态建设的一些感受。我来香港20多年了，一直希望用专业所长为香港多做一些事儿。很早以前我就注意到，香港虽然有不少顶级的高校，但是很多优秀的科研成果还是停留在实验室里，创新创业的氛围也算不上浓厚。作为创业者背后的创业者，我们深知多搭台、多搭梯对高素质的科技人才走出科创第一步的重要性。那么，能否为香港打造一个有独特优势的科创生态，来点燃香港青年创新创业的星星之火呢？带着这样的初衷，5年前，红杉中国发起了 Hong Kong X 创业平台，结果在第1年就收到了超过500份商业计划书，其中不乏具有前瞻创新视野和较高科技含量的项目，这更加坚定了我们的信心。香港的年轻人不仅与世界各地的年轻人一样，拥有改变世界的梦想，更拥有香港一直以来理性务实、关注商业逻辑的优势。只要给他们足够的支持，一批未来的科技独角兽完全可能在香港破壳而出。在这5年里，经过摸索和实践，我们逐步形成了以公益培训、孵化、智库研究到种子期投资等多种方式嫁接创业资源，先后支持了240个香港及大湾区的科创项目，培育了40多家有鲜明科技特色的创业公司，在香港的校园里形成了较高的知名度和广泛的青年群体的认可。一路走来，许多关心香港未来的有识之士也为平台带来了宝贵的智慧和资源，共同为守护香港年轻人的创业之火添柴加薪。回顾这5年，最大的收获是我们见证了科创的星星之火在香港已建成燎原之势。事实上，我们发现科技创业正在潜移默化地改变着香港这座城市的基因。大学从不太喜欢到开始鼓励教授们创业，投身初创被越来越多的研究生作为毕业后的新选择，以 STEM 为主题的兴趣班、夏令营，正如雨后春笋般的涌现。与此同时，我们深切地感受到香港政府在科创发展中的信心和行动，我们也愿意和政府一起为繁荣生态做出更多的努力。如果把有着长远发展机会的科创事业比作一场接力赛，那么过去5年，我们助力香港创业者完成了起跑线上破局的第1棒。那接下来，我们将递出帮助他们跑得更稳、跑得更远的第2棒。明年，我们将主推3大工作：一是人才支撑，我们计划推出新的培训教育项目，支持更多的科创青年群体；2 是生态引领，服务更多的创业者，做大香港科创的活水，助力香港科创生态的提升。三是两地融合，依托 Hong Kong X Foundation， 把香港科创成果对接国家重大战略、社会发展需求，帮助越来越多有志、有才、有潜力的香港年轻人拥抱大湾区，走向全世界。展望未来 ，Hong Kong X 会继续与香港的早期科技创业者前行，希望在下一个5年、10年，甚至50年后来回顾的时候，我们可以自豪地说，在香港建成国际创新科技中心这样一个时代的命题中，也有我们的一份参与和绵薄之力。谢谢大家。
How is this generation of entrepreneurs different, and what are the unique opportunities they have? We now have Dr. Victor Fong, who has contributed enormously for the development of trade in Hong Kong, with us now to share with us his insights. So, Dr. Fong, great to see you again.
Yes, great to see you, Kate.
Do you think this generation of the youth in Hong Kong are given enough opportunity, especially on the innovation and technology front?
Well, I think, on the innovation and technology front, I think Hong Kong is increasingly becoming one of the major centers in the world. I would say, let me analyze the whole innovation process just very quickly in 3 stages. First, it's the 0 to 1, the real basic research. And then there's the focus group, let's call it the 1 to 100, where you produce 100 pieces to do actually small group research. And then you've got to do the market testing, the 100 to 100,000 stage. Now, in this basic research 0 to 1 stage, Hong Kong actually has unique advantages. China has 8 universities among the top 50 universities in the world. 4 are in the mainland, 2 in Beijing, 2 in Shanghai, and 4 are actually in Hong Kong. So these 4 universities provide a real basis for a real leadership in basic research and really be a great driver of the 0 to 1 stage. Now then, if we move to Hong Kong's relationship with the rest of the GBA, especially with Shenzhen, then I think the idea of manufacturing very quickly 100 pieces for market testing with focus groups and so on, I think is going to be a major need. And then once that is done, once you've actually iterated, then you can make 100,000 pieces for a whole test run in the whole GBA, where you go from an idea to a prototype. Yes, that is an absolutely essential first stage, but then you've got to do the second stage of testing with small focus groups. If the product doesn't work properly, you've got to go back immediately to the lab and then recycle very quickly to actually get a workable product. And then once you have a workable product, you've got to do market testing. Now, in that second stage, there's huge opportunity for Hong Kong and the Bay Area to really combine and work together. Hong Kong is going through a new stage of reindustrialization that would enable us to very quickly turn out very small run production of high quality very quickly. And that is absolutely essential. And then, of course, the whole Greater Bay Area with its population of 19 million people, I think will be an ideal test market. Now, I would say compared to the other hubs, we have all 3 pieces of the innovation process in place. I cannot think of too many places on earth that has all 3 in close proximity, and that is our unique advantage. So if you put all that together, I think we can play a critical role in the innovation process.
Right. You actually mentioned a very interesting point, putting all these pieces together. My understanding is that, all these areas adding up together can probably create some synergies standing alone they might not have. What's your take on that?
Well, I think the synergies are tremendous. Over the last 40 years, the whole driver for the Pearl River Delta has always been a synergy between Hong Kong and Shenzhen and the rest of the Delta, and Guangdong and so on. In the old days, our global network, our financial service center, combined very well with the manufacturing base, which was based on abundance of land and labor, right, in the initial stages. Now that stage is over. Today, we're talking about manufacturing 4.0, digital manufacturing. And guess what? One of the major centers in the world are indeed now in Shenzhen and the Greater Bay Area. So Hong Kong is again forging a new partnership, if you would, in this new digital manufacturing era and creating globalized digital supply chains together with the competitiveness that Shenzhen and the Greater Bay Area can offer. So I think I see a tremendous opportunity for synergy and a tremendous opportunity to actually forge a new partnership in the next 40 years.
I need to ask you one question because you stand for the older generation of the very successful entrepreneurs in Hong Kong. How do you think the younger generation, I mean the people relatively younger than you are still very young, different from your generation?
Well, Kate, I would say very simply, an entrepreneur is an entrepreneur, and that's ageless. Right. I think the big difference today, if I look at the entrepreneurs of my generation, we all start from very small, from scratch, and building up reasonable and large-sized enterprises. The difference in the old days, let's say if we looked at the early stages of development of the Pearl River Delta, is small entrepreneurs with small shops in Hong Kong went across the border and created a facility with labor from around China and so on of 2,000 people.
Right.
Okay? And really, their skills were primarily not only in looking at the global world markets and the connectivity, but in managing large numbers of people. Today, the entrepreneurs have a similar skill, but we're really in a digital age. And we're in the age of services as much as production of merchandise. So the skill set there is really speed and also being able to use new technology and digital aspects to actually make those entrepreneurial creation and coming up constantly with business models. It is not so much managing 2,000 people, which I think is a very different skill set, right, but being able to be nimble and trying different things and connecting. And that fits entirely with the need for innovation today around the world.
Right. Thank you. So the skill set might be different. The global view might be different. However, entrepreneurship and entrepreneur, they are ageless. Great. I need to ask you one.
Absolutely.
Great. I need to ask you one question. Well, Hong Kong is now, while we all talk about innovation, technology innovation, we're focusing on biotech because life standards are increasing, so we're more focusing on the health issue. How should Hong Kong stay competitive and then maintain its traditional advantages in trade, in finance, because those are the old territories that Hong Kong possesses and still taking global lead, but how to stay competitive going forward?
The very important thing that we probably need to be thinking more about is how to actually integrate the financial services sector with the real economy. In a sense, in integrating trade, global supply chains with our financial capabilities. And I think the key there is something called trade finance. If we can actually merge those sectors together in the form of trade finance, actually taking advantage of the digital platforms that are now being formed in the world, I think that will create another unique advantage that we should keep for decades.
Great, thank you so much, Dr. Feng. Now we have a representative from our audience, Kelvin Tang, who is the co-founder and CEO of Pawns.ai, and he has some question to you as the younger generation of entrepreneur. So Kelvin, please go ahead.
Thank you, Kate, and thank you, Dr. Feng. Big fan of yours. So, Dr. Feng, do you think Hong Kong has given enough opportunities to the younger generations today? And in the future, how can Hong Kong remain competitive in attracting overseas talents and businesses? Thank you very much.
Okay, Kelvin, first of all, it's a great pleasure for me too. I've always been interested in entrepreneurs, regardless of age and generation. So it's great to see you. I wish you every success in your venture. I think Hong Kong has provided tremendous opportunity for young people. But I think maybe it's not enough. Maybe we need to provide even more. I think what we are really seeing now is a new generation of entrepreneurs, as we saw earlier, that really are connected globally, are very, very au fait digitally, and can manage everything on a digital basis, and be able to be connecting with people on the web and physically almost everywhere. In addition, we need to also be very aware of what's happening in the rest of the world, and especially our near neighbors. And here I would identify the ASEAN countries. The 10 countries of ASEAN, I think, is a booming economy, huge opportunities. And if our youth in Hong Kong can actually join the Greater Bay Area with the ASEAN countries and provide that conduit and that connectivity and add value ourselves in the process, I think that will be tremendous. So that's my first point. The second point is I think our own youth need to be a little more adventurous in going overseas. You know, not only must you, as I said earlier, know China and know really our motherland and everything in the Greater Bay Area, but also be well aware of the surrounding areas and the rest of the world. And I think if you have that outward look, that outward bend, and then sort of combining that with your entrepreneurship, I think that will be terrific.
Great, thank you so much. That is Victor Fong and Kelvin Tang. Coming up next, as an innovation hub, what are the international experiences we can borrow from other parts of the world? How are the young leaders viewing the opportunities ahead in the Greater Bay Area? Stay tuned. Mr. Alfred Sit Wing Hung, Justice of the Peace, was appointed as the Secretary for Innovation and Technology of Hong Kong SAR in 2020. An electric engineer by profession with over 3 decades of experience in public administration, he has been spearheading innovation efforts in the SAR. Let's hear from him.
Being the Secretary for Innovation and Technology, it is extremely encouraging for me to witness the phenomenal development of INT from 0 to 1, the impressive growth of startups, the emergence of homegrown unicorns one after another, and the gradual formation of a healthy and vibrant ecosystem in Hong Kong over the past years. The current term government has been driving INT development along the 8 major directions set out by the Chief Executive. Over the past 4 years, more than $130 billion has been allocated to support INT in creating a more vibrant INT ecosystem, while investment from venture capital funds in Hong Kong has increased severalfold to $10 billion last year. With life and health science as one of the important fields where Hong Kong enjoys key advantages, we will set up of an InnoLife Health Tech Hub in the Hong Kong Shenzhen Innovation and Technology Park in Lok Ma Chau Loop area, focusing on research and advanced manufacturing works in areas such as biomedicine, chemistry, physics, engineering, big data, and artificial intelligence. I firmly believe that this initiative is of great potential to be a prominent platform in attracting and gathering startups or large enterprises in life and health disciplines who have identified Hong Kong's strength in this area and the market potential of the Greater Bay Area. Riding on the good momentum of Hong Kong's INT development and paving the way for further development, we are going to develop the Shenzhen Technopole as Hong Kong's Silicon Valley. This, together with the Shenzhen Innovation and Technology Zone, will form the Shenzhen Hong Kong INT Cooperation Zone and become an essential propeller for the development of an international INT hub in the GBA.
Earlier, we spoke to Amy Lowe, who is the co-head of UBS Wealth Management in Asia Pacific and chief executive of UBS Hong Kong. She has been witnessing and participating in the development of capital markets in Hong Kong and Greater China for several years. We spoke to her to understand how innovation and technology are transforming financial institutions and how the innovation and technology can be used to better serve their customers. So Amy, how are you? Can you hear me?
Hi, Kay. How are you?
Good, good, good. So, Amy, investment is very, very critical to technology. So, are we really putting money where our mouth is in Hong Kong?
Certainly we are.
So, you think so? From that regard, how is UBS using your unique advantages and also your capability in terms of designing financial tools to serve your clients?
You know UBS has the most distinct advantages in our global franchise in both the wealth management and also investment banking to support the tech innovators in various development stages. So from the early stage, we help the tech innovators to showcase their technologies and offer their connectivity with the investor community through initiatives such as the Tech Connect and our annual blockbuster event, Disruptive Technology Sales Summit. And our wealth management business is also the largest in APAC with US dollar $546 billion AUM. With this size and scale, we basically open the door for the tech innovators to access our wealth management investor and also the world's largest global family offices and institutional investor. And more importantly, on a strategic angle, help them to grow their exposure to gain the strategic investment. And our global banking capabilities also support the entrepreneurs in fundraising activities anywhere in the world. Globally, we have extensive experience in helping also some of the new economy companies in private placement, IPO, and we also leverage our global network to connect the like-minded entrepreneurs together so they can get access to unique business insights. Last but not the least, we also invested in China as early as in the 1980s. So we have a very strong security franchise, an asset management joint venture, and also a wholly owned bank operation. And recently, we were also granted a fund distribution license in our wholly owned UBS Qianhai Wealth Management Company, which we aim to offer a range of wealth management services to our clients starting next year.
Right, so interesting.
Very exciting.
Right, very exciting indeed. Now with more and more tech companies migrating from US to Hong Kong and also to Chinese mainland boards, how would your investment banking colleagues advise your clients when talking about the listing venues?
Now, you know, Hong Kong is really unique because it gives really the deal makers a combination of the flexibility, transparency, and certainty. And it's only the Chinese jurisdiction whose financial system is also built upon the English law or the common law, which is well understood by international investors and also companies alike. So our bankers also need to know this very well. And Hong Kong has also made several changes in listing rules to become more accommodative to new economy listing as well. So I think a lot of also very interesting development in Hong Kong.
How should Hong Kong Stock Exchange stay competitive while facing the comparison from NASDAQ and also the Beijing Stock Exchange, which newly opened? Because those are all the alternatives in terms of the financing channels for enterprises.
Remember in 2018, the Hong Kong Stock Exchange launched a new listing rule to broaden and attract the listing of the pre-revenue biotech company.
Right.
And in 2020, 16 biotech firms have listed through the list rule chapter 18A. So it also launched a new chapter 8A of the listing rule to allow companies with weighted voting right structure to list in Hong Kong. So I think these new rules have made great progress. As we can see, the Hong Kong IPO from new economy company have accounted for 64% of the total amount raised in 2020. And that's up from 49% in 2018 and 2019.
I think, absolutely. The geographic proximity between Hong Kong and other cities in the Greater Bay Area is definitely a unique advantage that Hong Kong possesses, which will definitely benefit its development. And I understand UBS historically is very strong in terms of biotech franchise. As you mentioned, there are a lot of IPOs and capital markets activities of those companies on the capital markets recently. So how would you compare this generation of tech entrepreneurs from last generation, so to speak? What are the unique characteristics of them?
In general, they are more global, faster, and also much more digital savvy. So we have to catch up with them.
Right.
And they are in general also more agile and very visionary, the one that we've been dealing with. One more thing, I would say they also have a strong appetite to make positive impact in the world with their capital. So it's beyond the financial return.
Right. I think that's actually absolutely critical. This is a very important spirit as an entrepreneur to impact the world and generate positive repercussions to the society. On top of that, one thing is also very interesting because previously, while we see a lot of pre-revenue companies are choosing NASDAQ to get listed. As you just mentioned, it's because that Hong Kong listing rule does not allow. Now Hong Kong is also opening doors to those pre-revenue companies. And also Beijing is opening doors to those pre-revenue companies. How do you think Hong Kong can actually maintain its unique advantages out of those competitions?
You know, we see Hong Kong stock market stock exchange can still remain very competitive by enhancing the liquidity of the overall market and more comprehensive product offering. And obviously, we need to shorten the listing settlement period for the IPO and lowering the transaction cost for stock trading to entice more investors here. And also, on top of the relaxation of the listing requirement, the Hong Kong Stock Exchange introduced in 2018, the exchange can also further relax some of the listing requirement and expand the current relaxation to include more industry, especially the emerging new economy companies in the emerging sectors. I think, after all, the Hong Kong market remains still uniquely positioned with more international and also has more institutional kind of investor. Because the institutional investor from Hong Kong and overseas account for roughly 65% of the total turnover. And that's substantial, right?
Right. Thank you so much, Amy. I think, in tough times that we just mentioned, it is still technology that keeping us together and help us move forward. So that is Amy Lowe. Thank you so much. Hong Kong as a global financial hub is never short of capital. How can Hong Kong further leverage its advantages and connection with the Greater Bay Area to provide more convenient funding access to small and medium-sized companies and stay competitive among global exchanges? Laura Chow, chairperson of the Hong Kong Exchanges and Clearing Limited, shares her insights.
With a population of over 86 million, a combined GDP of 1.7 trillion US dollars, which is as big as that of Korea, the Greater Bay Area has the potential to become one of the strongest economic growth engines in the world. Hong Kong also has one of the most dynamic startup ecosystems in Asia. In only 6 years, the number of startups in the city has tripled to around 3,400 in 2020, with 11 unicorns emerging over the same period. HKEX's listing reforms in 2018 have transformed the DNA of our market. Since HKEX's listing reforms, 168 new economy companies have listed in Hong Kong, raising over 800 billion Hong Kong dollars. These new economy companies account for 25% of Hong Kong's total market capitalization. We look forward to closer coordination between our partners across the GBA, including Macau, Shenzhen, and the entire Guangdong Province, to seize these attractive opportunities for Hong Kong.
We now have Professor Dennis Liu from the Chinese University of Hong Kong with us. So Dennis, thank you for your time.
Hello.
You returned to Hong Kong from UK in 1997. How would you compare Hong Kong nowadays from the old days when you just came back, especially the innovation environment?
I think in terms of the environment and atmosphere and infrastructure is really night and day between 97 and now. Now, for example, when I first returned to Hong Kong, the average grant that you can get to do research is of the order of something like 500,000 Hong Kong dollars. And I can see that amount really increase to several million and then tens of millions and now even hundreds of millions of dollars. So the funding side has definitely increased. And also in terms of infrastructure, I also see facilities like the cyberport and the Hong Kong Science Park being developed. So I think all in all is really, we have gone a long way for the last 25 years.
Right. Hong Kong graduates or graduates from Hong Kong, they have an inclination to actually go to the professional services industry, for instance, finance and legal sector. How do you persuade the younger generation and your students to do the scientific research and even to find their own business? Because 99.9% of the chances they might fail without any results.
Well, I think that would be important to actually give our young people a taste of what research is like, even when they're in secondary school and also in early university years, to actually give them a chance to see what scientists like myself actually are and what a laboratory is like, what is research. And then once they have a taste of that, I think that a proportion of them will actually find it is a very interesting and privileged way of doing a profession, because you are given a chance to actually see things which nobody else in history have ever seen, and to really let your imagination run wild. And furthermore, I would say to the young people that it's not just the outcome, it's actually like a journey of discovery. The trip itself is very interesting.
You mentioned a very important point is that Hong Kong, in terms of innovation environment, is very different from the old days. How much support you've been obtaining over the years along the process from Hong Kong government?
So over the year, I can see gradually more and more funding schemes are being devoted and developed to support innovation and technology. Now, for example, I first returned to Hong Kong in 1997. And in 1999, I saw the foundation of the Innovation and Technology Fund. And actually, that fund is very important because it actually supports researchers like myself to translate into products. And I still remember, actually, when I found my first company, Ixelom, it was actually through the encouragement of the previous commissioner of the Innovation and Technology Fund, Ms. Janet Wong, because she saw that our work is generating results, and she encouraged me to start my company and even introduce a business contact for me. So those support are really very valuable.
Right. How do you think that the Greater Bay Area can help Hong Kong better position itself to lead innovation in this front?
I think the Greater Bay Area will be crucial. Now, for example, previously, I have my own life science company based in Hong Kong. But of course, Hong Kong with 7.5 million people is far too small to sustain a large company of the order of a unicorn. Right. But I think with the large population in Greater Bay Area, this will actually give us tremendous opportunity. But I think that in terms of policy, I think in the Greater Bay Area, we need to further streamline some of the areas like in intellectual property policy, because in the Greater Bay Area, basically we're talking about 3 patent jurisdictions, which would take more time for companies to get their relative patent protection, and also in terms of sample and data transportation within Greater Bay Area. I think that can be further streamlined.
Right. So what are the challenges still remaining in Hong Kong to encourage people or to engage more people for the innovation efforts?
I think that in terms of getting funding to have your own startup company, you still sometimes we have to actually look abroad, say in the US, for venture capitalist money. So I think that would be important to actually persuade more people here locally to invest in our own companies. And also I think in terms of the technology policy, there's still something which we can first streamline in terms of our reach to the Greater Bay Area, for example.
And you definitely set a great example for all the younger generations. Now we have a representative from our audiences, and he is going to raise question to you. He is Mr. Zhang Jingcheng. So let's welcome Mr. Zhang. And he is a lab manager from Hong Kong Institute of Science and Innovation, Chinese Academy of Science. So what is your question to Professor Lowe? The floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, host. Thank you, Professor Lowe, for your sharing. I have a question that there's a data that 99% scientists cannot make breakthrough achievements in their lifetime. how do you encourage younger generations to still dedicate it to their research process?
Well, I would say that, research is really a privilege. It's a privilege whereby we're given a chance to let our imagination run wild and to have a chance to actually discover things which nobody has discovered before. So actually, it's the process, it's the journey itself is as interesting as the outcome, if not more interesting. And furthermore, even every time we encounter a difficulty, let's say a path doesn't go, at least we learn why it doesn't go, and then we go into another path. So I think about the process rather than just focusing on the result. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor.
Great. So that was Dennis Lowe from the Chinese University of Hong Kong. Robert Quinn has witnessed the growth of Chinese economy over the past several decades. In his view, innovation is critical to the economic success of the Greater Bay Area. And as the most important participants in the process, small and medium-sized companies need to be better incentivized.
I'd like to share with you my prior experiences as both an investment banker and an academic researcher in the United States for over 25 years. Especially working with small and mid-sized firms, and as a scholar at MIT, researching success strategies of mid-sized firms. It is well known that the main engine driving innovation, especially in technology, are small and mid-sized companies. Large companies often have huge sunk cost investments in legacy technologies and are most reluctant to give them up. That's why small and mid-sized companies are said to create 70% or more of innovations, including new technologies and industrial upgrades. This 70% figure is almost a kind of economic law. It remains consistently very high in different systems and cultures, including in China and in the US.
Hong Kong is a global financial center for sure. However, in terms of sheer consumer user base and market size, the Chinese mainland is definitely much bigger. Why do entrepreneurs choose Hong Kong as their headquarters? And how do they conduct business on the Chinese mainland while sitting in Hong Kong? We now have Shen Chao and Matthew Tan, founders of Lalamove, with us. Shen, long time no see. I think 2 or 3 years ago when I visited your office, you were just starting your business, but apparently your business has been ramping up very quickly. Can you just briefly tell us how the business is going globally, especially during the past 2 years during the pandemic? Thank you.
So basically we started in Hong Kong about 8 years ago. And even back in the early days, we had already ambitious global ambitions. We had this conviction that if you were to build a Hong Kong internet company, you have to think beyond Hong Kong. So even though when we're starting in a very small office in Hong Kong 8 years ago, we already started planning global expansion. So within a year of starting, we expanded to China. We also expanded to Southeast Asia, which is quite unusual at that time. And because just to succeed in the domestic market is hard enough, and doing it at the same time as you go on the domestic expansion at the same time as doing international was just unheard of. But 8 years down the road, I think with some luck and sweat and tears, we have managed to build a solid business not only in the domestic market in China, but also we have had some international success.
Well, thank you. Matthew, what is your most memorable moments during past 8 years while founding this business together with Shen?
To me, there are really a lot of moments that's quite touching. But if I have to pick one, I would say just about 8 years ago when we first started, we had no money, no team, no brand name, no resources. We don't even have an app. But yet there was this one driver, I think his name was Sam. And then he was willing, just off gut, willing to become our first driver. And then he gave us all his personal contacts, information, etc. So I thought like that moment was pretty touching because like you really had nothing, but yet someone was willing to believe in you and in your company and what you want to achieve. So ever since we grew from one driver to now close to more than 1 million drivers around the globe. So I thought that was quite memorable.
Right. Right. So that moment is memorable to you. But to me, I think the other thing strikes me most is that you started a courier business in Hong Kong. It's a van renting platform in Hong Kong, and you provide those logistics services to the people and companies needed. Well, Hong Kong is a big market, but it is also a small market. Why didn't you choose Shenzhen, for instance, or Guangdong, while speaking the same Cantonese language? You don't have the language barrier. Instead, you chose Hong Kong. Why is that?
Interestingly, before we have this idea, there was basically it's a digital van matching platform. So before we have the digital versions in Hong Kong, we already have an analog version. So if in the past, if you were to get a van or truck for delivery in Hong Kong, you will actually make a call to the call center, and the call center through radio is going to we would shout into the radio to try to get you a driver. So in a sense, the shipper and van driver matching was done through voice, so in a very analog way. So it's actually, once the mobile age arrived, it's actually a very logical next step to put that transactions or put that matching in a digital format. So at that time, there were already some other companies that were doing similar stuff, and we thought, oh, this is a great idea, but we thought that this not only works in Hong Kong, but it works in mainland and also works in a lot of the overseas markets. So that's why we took that analog model, make it digital, and try to scale it across the world.
During the operation, how do you conquer those difficulties and make the transition smoother? Because you do have a very big piece of the mainland business.
I think the one thing is just to be committed. So when we started our mainland business, we just moved the entire team to Shenzhen and Guangzhou. So I asked my team, we are going to be 100% committed to mainland business. So we have to show it in where we live. So we moved the entire team from Hong Kong to mainland. In China, nobody knows that we are from Hong Kong. So if I travel to Chengdu, people thought that Huolala is a Chengdu company. If we travel to Shanghai and meet some new friends, and if I tell them I'm working with Huolala, they would thought that Huolala is a Shanghainese company.
Well, that means that
your
local guys did a great job.
International business.
Right. That means your local guys did a great job.
True.
Yes.
Right.
So even in some of our international markets, people thought that we are the local company rather than a company from Hong Kong.
Very encouraging information, and I know that you guys are doing great. Hopefully one day you can realize your globalization dream of your empire as soon as possible. You also have some admirer of your business, and you too are from our audience, whose name is Marcus Lowe, and he's from Hong Kong University of Science and Technology Business School. So Marcus, now the floor is yours. I know you have lots of questions for Shen and Matthew. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much, Matthew and Shen, for very inspiring stories. Speaking of this, I'm just very curious on what are some career opportunities available for Hong Kong talents in the Greater Bay Area. Thank you so much.
I think Greater Bay Area is a very unique place, right? So we have unique opportunities to build something from this area, not only for China business, but also for an international business. If you think about career choices, you think about what I call APP. So A stands for ability, P stands for passion, and the last P stands for prospect. So you want to join or go into a field where there's intersections of these three. So the obvious ability is important. So if you're doing something that you have zero ability on, then you won't succeed. But passion is also important. So if you only have ability, but you don't really have a passion for it, then long term you won't be able to succeed either. And finally, prospect. So if you're joining something that you have ability, passion, but you're joining a declining industry, that's going to be very painful long term. So that's kind of the framework that I usually give people who are graduating and thinking of their career move. So APP.
Great. Thank you so much, Shen and Matthew. That is Lala Move. How is this generation of young entrepreneurs viewing Hong Kong, and what are their expectations? Our conversation continues with 4 young and upcoming entrepreneurs from Hong Kong. They are Wang Lei, founder of EcoFlow, Marvin Ma Chi, co-founder of Bones Technology, Zhang Lu, co-founder and CTO of SmartMore, also Zhou Lihan, co-founder and CEO of Mirexis. Welcome, gentlemen. So, before we start, I'll let each of you briefly introduce your company and what you do to our audiences. So I'll start from SmartMore first. So Mr. Lu, Zhang, please go ahead.
Thank you. SmartMore is a pioneer of intelligent manufacturing technology company dedicated to developing a new generation of AI technology, creating integrated hardware and software products, and promoting the digitalization and intelligent upgrading of the manufacturing industry. I'm Zhang Lu from SmartMore.
Right. Okay. Thank you. So Mirexis, Lihan.
Good afternoon. Hi, this is Lihan from Mirexis. We are a developer of RNA-based diagnostics. We developed the world's first blood RNA-based screening test for stomach cancer. And last year, we also pivoted some of our capabilities to support COVID testing in 45 countries.
Interesting. Bones Technology. Marvin?
This is Marvin from Bones Technology. We are a small startup, and we focus on the research and development of next generation orthopedic medical device.
Right. Okay. The last but not the least, Wang Lei, please go ahead.
Hello, I'm Wang Lei, founder of EcoFlow. We EcoFlow create innovative and clean portable power station products for users and families across the world. We try our best to promote the clean energy adoption across the globe. We serve our users across the globe for more than 100 countries.
Right. Okay. Great introduction. It seems that you're all doing those super high technologies. So let me start from you first, Wang Lei. Ecolab, it seems that we're doing this in a very timely fashion. Tell us a little bit of your understanding about the current energy crisis across the world.
Great question. Yes, countries and people across the world are now encountering the global energy crisis, especially the electricity crisis. To better understand the current energy crisis, I think we should first identify the root causes. Inside the industry, some radical climate policy is believed to have shaped the current energy crisis. However, I believe it's more closely linked to supply and demand. High demands and low production, strains to global supply chains through the uncontrollable factors, such as the COVID outbreak, have all contributed to the energy crisis we face today. So what can we do? I think first of all, accelerating the transformation of energy consumption, increasing the use of renewable energy, and enhancing new energy efficiency are the solutions for resolving the crisis. Meanwhile, transformation is not only about making changes at the industry level, it also needs support from every individual. Here at EcoFlow, we are making efforts to change people's energy consumption habit in daily life and lead a green lifestyle with our renewable portable power stations.
How would you expand your business going forward? It seems to me that your current business is limited to a certain occasions only.
Yes and no. Our current products, we serve our global users for 2 major occasions. Indoor is for home backup, during power outages and during climate disasters. Families and individuals can use our portable power stations to survive from the power outages and to make sure they can maintain their life quality and lifestyle. And outdoor, it's also a big occasion for our global users. When they go outdoor for camping, for RVing, for boating, and for the tailgating, they can also enjoy a very clean and user-friendly power stations to give them the power they need. So during both situations, indoor and outdoor, we can provide the power the users need. And in the long run, we're also trying to develop more more products for global users, for home energy and for other energy storage products beyond even home energy.
Right. Okay. You mentioned a very important word, which is the lifestyle enhancement through your service and your product. And I noticed that Miramax, Jolie Han, your research focuses on early stomach cancer detection. This is also largely associated with the lifestyle and also to enhance people's life quality. So theoretically, if all these tests can be actually promoted across the population, then a lot of medical costs actually can be saved, and people's life expectancy can also be enhanced. So how's your business going along so far?
That's a wonderful question. Now, so we've been applying our RNA technology not only for stomach cancer, but stomach cancer was the first product,
right,
because we see a huge unmet need in early detection of stomach cancer. And as I said, what's the goal here, right? Today, cancer is largely known as the death sentence. But our goal through invention of blood tests that can detect cancer early, where cancer can be cured, is really to turn cancer from a deadly disease into a chronic condition, and eventually to prevent cancer from happening in the first place. Now, to us, today's healthcare is really caring for the disease, but we are not yet moving towards the preventive healthcare that will ultimately improve the productivity of life and ensure the longevity of human beings.
Do you see actually your concept is being widely adopted here among the consumer markets in China?
The concept, so we've been commercializing in Singapore, in Japan, in China. So broadly speaking, I think the consumers all understand the benefit of a screening test, right? But the challenge today in introducing something fairly novel into the healthcare system is that we need the buy-in of multiple stakeholders, from the consumer themselves, from the physician, from the insurance company.
Right.
So the ultimate adoption, mass adoption of this, other than making these tests accessible, affordable, is the multi-stakeholder collaboration. Right. So that's a key area that we're working on. And one thing about the pandemic is that because these blood tests run on PCR workflow, which today it has been mass around the world. So the silver lining of the COVID-19 pandemic is that the world has really entered or ushered in the genomic era, where more and more of these preventive novel tests can be deployed.
Right. What kind of cost level is it now, so to speak? And then how far is it from promoting to the general population and make it affordable?
I think, again, the silver lining of the pandemic is that overall PCR testing costs come down tremendously.
Okay.
If you think about PCR cost testing before pandemic and after the mass build up all this capability, I think the cost has come down 80%. So we are seeing the possibility of eventually having multi-cancer screening tests, right? So single blood drawn tests for 6 to 8 high incidence cancer, we believe that can be done within 1,000 RMB.
Right.
And that's when we believe the mass adoption will happen.
Great, that's very encouraging. So Marvin, your research results are largely in the orthopedic sector. Why do you choose this Greater Bay Area to start your business? This is not the...
Okay.
Go ahead, please.
Yes. So the most important point for us is that the Greater Bay Area has a policy system that supports youth entrepreneurship and employment. So Bones Technology is a team from the University of Hong Kong and Quinn Hospital, supported by more than 20 years of clinical experience in orthopedics and a research experience in artificial intelligence. And we founded this business in Shenzhen because of the incentive subsidies for high-level talents, policies, and promote the development of biomedical industry, and the active investment environment in Shenzhen. So we believe that innovation and entrepreneurship atmosphere in the Greater Bay Area can accelerate our product from the laboratory to the market.
Right. So has Hong Kong or the Greater Bay Area provide you enough policy support for your business?
Yes, actually current policies in both China and Hong Kong strongly encourage innovation and entrepreneurship. For Bones Technologies, the market environment in China is more focused on market expansion. Specifically, there are more than 34,000 hospitals in China with a large number of customers, which facilitates us to rapidly iterate our products and make them optimal.
Right. Okay, great. Last one, Jiang Luo, who is a co-founder and CTO of SmartMore. It seems that your AI intelligence is becoming an enabler to industries including airplanes and EVs. How should we think about the industry disruption or reshape supported by your technology?
Yeah, well, I would say the value we added at this stage, the current stage is tremendous. Though SmartMore is only a 2-year-old AI company, it has quickly grown and established itself as a unicorn within 18 months. We have proudly served hundreds of leading enterprises, including several Fortune 500 companies. The feedback we have received so far is overwhelmingly positive. As we know, AI, especially AI for smart manufacturing, have been sought after for a long time. After adopting our AI technology, we are very pleased to see that the whole production and inspection process have become far more efficient, automated, and intelligent. At the same time, the costs involved, such as operations, labor, storage, and more, are significantly reduced. For example, we completed a project for a leading manufacturer of new energy batteries and applied our technology. As a result of embracing our technology, not only did we increase production efficiency by 85%, our AI machine was able to reduce labor costs by 80%, saving $3 million across multiple lines. We actually envision a paradigm shift within manufacturing, where AI will become the key driver as well as the brain for any advanced industries. In a nutshell, we are transitioning into the paradigm where we won't need people working on or patrolling production lines anymore, but every single step of the entire manufacturing process will be intelligently planned, precisely timed, and efficiently executed. Simply put, the factory of the future will be just like a highly skilled and perfectly coordinated orchestra. Brain, the AI brain is the conductor, and robots are the musician. We see this future is coming at a faster pace than expected.
Right. So, according to what you just said, the artificial intelligence is not only efficient, enhance efficiency during our production for our industry, it also very romantic. I'm going to ask each of you this question. How should we view this technology for good concept? Because it seems all of you are trying to use the technology that you innovated to change this world from its old version. You just want to disrupt it and create a version that you think is more favorable to consumers. How should we understand this technology for good? I'll start from Wang Lei first.
Technology for me, there's no good or bad. It's the people behind technology has the sense and the mindset for good or for bad. So at a very fundamental level, whether technology is deemed as good or bad, it depends on its use. So from my point of view, technology for good is to leverage advanced technologies to deliver a positive impact on the world around us. So at EcoFlow, technology for good is our inner value. We thought this a lot, actually from the day one when we started. Meaningful innovation is what distinguishes our technology from others. We are creating truly innovation-led products that meet people's needs and solve their problems across the globe. From home backup during power outages to off-grid living in remote locations, our technology offers people reliable, clean, and quiet power to replace the traditional fossil fuel generators. At the same time, by providing renewable and eco-friendly power stations, we are protecting the planet and encouraging a carbon-neutral lifestyle.
Great, Wang Lei, thank you for your insight. Li Han, what's your take on that? Technology for good.
Absolutely. I believe technology development and entrepreneurship should be purpose-driven. Now, in our sector, in the healthcare, it's always about improving and saving lives. So if we don't deliver that outcome, essentially no medical technology will be adopted for the long run. So for our sector, it's straightforward. It has to be for the good.
What about other guests? For instance, Marvin, you're also in the healthcare sector, so I'm sure your view will be more or less the same.
Yes, for us to make technology for good is to make something people want. And we need to achieve the combination of corporate interests and social values. And as for bone technology, we believe that many elderly patients are suffering from osteoporosis, which often causes fractures and it even leads to a high mortality rate. Through the new generation of orthopedic devices, we hope to help the elderly to prevent and treat orthopedic diseases more accurately. And we hope to use the opportunity of national health reform and reduce the cost of patient care.
Great. Jiang Bo?
I guess I will particularly talk about AI for good. So as you know, our life is becoming further and further intertwined with AI technology. So our take on this is that AI should be designed in a good way, with humanity in mind, with no privilege or bias introduced unconsciously. More specifically, what the AI does or predicts should not be biased towards a fraction of users or purpose, but rather it should be fair and more inclusive to different people and different tasks. Right. This is why SmartMo is dedicated to enabling smart manufacturing with AI. It is our way to achieve technology for good.
I see actually one common traits of your four companies is that you all have the great potential to go global because all the technology or the products that you are innovating can be applied globally. So how would you compare the business environment? Let's take it step by step. Let's talk about China first. How would you compare the business environment between the Greater Bay Area and the rest of China?
Yeah, maybe I can give some of my personal experiences and also feelings. From the Greater Bay Area perspective, if we can combine the advantages at a cutting edge, this will form a very even stronger collaboration. So actually, I think EcoFlow is quite an excellent example of the Hong Kong and also Greater Bay Area initiative and collaboration.
So Julie Han, you basically chose Singapore as a domicile of your company, and also you have a base in Hangzhou. What is your connection with Hong Kong? And if indeed there is any, or any connection with the Greater Bay Area, how would you understand and compare the business environment among all those places?
Right, so Hong Kong to us is actually a melting pot between the West and the East. Right. Same to Singapore. But what the advantage of Hong Kong is that we see a much higher density of international healthcare investor as compared to either the US-based, New York-based versus those based in Shanghai. So for a company like us with a global ambition, Hong Kong is a wonderful place to showcase the technology, to talk to investors who have connection both in Chinese mainland as well as US.
What about the actual business environment? You're basically talking about the financing environment.
Hong Kong actually has a fairly liberal environment for us to introduce new technologies, new ways. So from the business environment-wise, fundraising is easy in Hong Kong, introducing the new technologies, as well as talking to insurers. Right. That's the other advantage of Hong Kong.
Right. Okay. Marvin, what's your take on this?
Okay, so I also got my PhD in Hong Kong, and and actually we think Hong Kong we have the global talents and technologies, which can help us accelerate the breakthrough of key technologies. And we moved to Shenzhen like 2 years ago, and we believe in Shenzhen we have more advantages of the market expansion because in Chinese mainland, we have more than 34,000 hospitals, and we can to facilitate us to rapidly iterate our products and make them optimal.
So I know for Smart Move, Professor Jia was actually from Hong Kong. So I don't know about you, Jiang Bo, are you also from Hong Kong University?
Actually, I did my PhD in Europe, and I spent some years in Singapore. So I totally agree with the observations from the guests. So quite interesting. SmartMo itself has very good experience with both business environments.
Thank you so much, guys. Let me ask you a final question, which I think is an important question. What is your view on entrepreneurship? Let me start from Marvin first.
Yes, actually, for me, entrepreneurship means innovation and courage. For me, I founded Bones Technology when I was a student in the University of Hong Kong, and I met a lot of problems to develop the first prototype. But for us, doing research is totally different from to make a real product, and we need the courage to solve all the problems, like to apply the FDA, CFDA, and to visit the orthopedic surgeons to optimal our software and the medical devices. And for us, we need the courage for innovation and to create the product that doesn't have in the world. So we make the future.
Great. So innovation and courage is your understanding of entrepreneurship. What about you, Jolie Han?
Entrepreneurship to me is about 3 Ps. It's about purpose, it's about people, and it's about perseverance. In our sector, the development timeline for any product is very long. So we need to bring people together to find a common purpose and to essentially persevere through the challenges and obstacles of almost a decade to bring a medical product to serve the people. So purpose, perseverance, and people.
So purpose, people, and perseverance. Great. What about Jiang Bo?
My understanding is that as an entrepreneur, you have to dare to think and also think big and strive for the best. Obviously, you have to be results-oriented and have a strong mindset of thinking in attaining impossible things possible. That's my take.
Great. Wang Lei?
I think I very much like the definition of entrepreneurship from a very classical definition from Harvard Business School. And this also has encouraged me over the past few years. Entrepreneurship is the pursuit of an opportunity without regard to limited resources under control. I think the key words here are persistent pursuit of opportunity, and also the other keywords are without regard to limited resources under control. At our situation here at EcoFlow, we are trying to develop the best and innovative and clean portable power station to the world, and no one has ever created and developed before. So we need to figure out how to call up the best resources across the world to try to innovate and try to serve our global users.
Great. To pursue the best result despite the resources that we have. That is the entrepreneurship and the understanding in Wang Lei's mind. Hong Kong's unique advantage in innovation are second to none. With its access to the vast Chinese mainland market, the confluence of resource, will, and urgency, this is perhaps the best time for innovation and technology development in the SAR. With its favorable policy environment and global talent pool, there is no reason why Hong Kong cannot fly higher and take the lead in global innovation. That's all for today's special program 2021 InnoBay. We give special thanks to all the participants and their contributions to the event. I'm Kate Kui from CGTN, Beijing. Until next time, bye for now.